up, football fans? We are deep into the offseason now. We're about a month outside of the NFL draft, and things are starting to wind down here on the free agency side. But there were some things that happened last week after we chatted on the podcast last week on the episode on Tuesday. But we're back. We're here. We're talking more football. There's more things that did happen, so we have to get into it on today's episode of Play Action Takes, Apollo Media's NFL podcast. Make sure you hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening or watching us on YouTube at Play Action Takes, or you can get us on the audio platforms like Apple and Spotify, where we also have video on Spotify. Hit that subscribe button right there. Help us out. Help grow the show heading into the next season. We're excited about the next season of NFL football, but welcome to Play Action Takes, Apollo Media's NFL podcast. I am your host, Stone Strinkman, joined always by Kush Patel. How are we doing, brother?
We're doing great. You mentioned on YouTube. We're also on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. So follow us everywhere for all your football content. And like you said, some crazy stuff happened last week, man.
Yeah, I don't want to start with the biggest topic of this episode, but this was a pretty big topic. Maxx Crosby obviously was traded to the Ravens. We talked about that last week, and then was it hours after we finished recording, like after it had already been published? I believe the trade was rescinded or denied by the Ravens because it was still in the legal tampering period. The new league year hadn't officially started yet, so the trade hadn't officially gone through. They did the physical. It turns out Maxx Crosby and Trey Hendrickson were in the building at the same time in Baltimore. The trade ends up not going through. Maxx Crosby then goes back to the Raiders, who had just spent $280 some odd million in free agency over the total time period of their deals that they had made. And they're fine just keeping Maxx Crosby. I don't know how the salary cap works. I know it went up $1 bajillion again this year, as it always does. But crazy times that Baltimore just decided not to do the trade after a couple of days and then immediately signed Trey Hendrickson to a deal.
Yeah, I believe this stuff dropped like the night that we recorded on Monday, I believe. Monday or Tuesday it was.
Yeah.
It's actually funny because in last week's episode, you had a list of guys that were traded for 2 first-round picks, and null and void. Maxx Crosby.
Doesn't count.
Rescinded. Goes back to the Raiders. The Ravens kind of pull a fast one, and the next morning they sign Trey Hendrickson, and they have their defensive end. They keep the 2 first-round picks, and I hate to say it in a slimy way that the Ravens kind of came out winners in this whole thing.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of smarter people than me talk about what happened in this and how Maxx Crosby was probably a better fit for the Ravens in a sense that he stops the run at a pretty high rate there as an edge rusher who also gets after the quarterback. He's kind of a well-rounded edge rusher, whereas Trey Hendrickson not very good at stopping the run. And in this type of defense, they kind of need the guy to do both. So that'll be kind of interesting to see. But I think they also saved money in this. I think they're paying Hendrickson less than what Maxx Crosby's deal was that they were inheriting, and you save 2 first-round picks. It's like, sure, maybe you get a little bit worse of a player, technically speaking. However, he's roughly the same age, not the same exact production, but a pretty damn close version of it. So you still get your edge rusher, you still get something out of it, and you keep 2 first-round picks out of it. I think, ultimately Baltimore did what was best for their team. However, the optics of how it played out was pretty tough because obviously the trade doesn't go through. The Raiders put out that little press release statement on their Twitter and Instagram and everything. And then a couple hours later, Trey Hendrickson's just signed to the Baltimore Ravens. That's what it felt like. And it's just maybe a little bit of dirty business, but in order to win a Super Bowl, maybe you got to do a little dirty business. And I'm okay with that, but optics don't look good for Baltimore and their leadership and the ownership doing all these kinds of deals.
Yeah, the optics were bad, and I just thought the failed physical stuff was just so funny because, if I'm a team getting Maxx Crosby, obviously you're worried about the knee and all that stuff, but this is Maxx Crosby we're talking about, one of the best pass rushers in the league. I would say one of the best defensive ends in the league. The motor is crazy on this guy. He all in all, great player. I would probably pass his physical even if the knee was kind of bad. He's that good of a player. And as far as Trey Hendrickson, he is a very good pass rusher. I don't think he's as good at stopping the run as Maxx Crosby is. But at the end of the day, the Ravens got their defensive end. They improved their defense, which was just really, really bad last season. You heard all like the national media talking about it all year how this is not the Ravens, identity defense that we've been accustomed to for the last 20, 30 years. So I think they had to make a move for anybody, whether it was one of those two guys or somebody else, and whatever they do in the draft. So good job, Ravens, I guess, and Raiders gonna Raider. I mean, they just can't get away from it. The Raiders are gonna Raider.
Yeah, and like obviously you look at it as the Raiders' perspective, they lose 2 first-round picks in that trade, but they get Maxx Crosby back, and like you're gonna have a new coach, you're gonna have a new quarterback. You've already added a lot in free agency, and just like adding Maxx Crosby back into that fold isn't a bad thing necessarily. Sure, you lose some assets, but as Astros fans, we're very familiar with parades over prospects. Prospects don't mean anything until they actually come up and do something for you. So if you're trading that for something that's going to help you win a championship now, that's better off. I'm not saying that the Raiders are in a position to win a championship right now. However, getting Maxx Crosby, who seems like a really good culture guy, plays his balls off each and every down, each and every season. You see the work that he puts in, and just having that back in the locker room, not a bad thing for a youngish team, new head coach, and just establishing a culture. I don't think that's a bad thing. However, you kind of look at it and you're like, we were kind of trying to just send him on his way, and now he's back. So like then you got to tiptoe that around because you traded him, and now he's back. And it happened in the NBA last year with like Mark Williams, who's a center, played for Charlotte, got traded to the Lakers, and they rescinded it like 2 days later, based off of the physical. Mark Williams now plays for the Suns, and he's been really fucking good. So the Lakers probably wish they had him. I wonder if we're gonna have the same situation next season with the Ravens and the Raiders. Like, man, Maxx Crosby's on a fucking tear, and Trey Hendrickson kind of hasn't done a whole lot for this team. Maybe they should have just done that trade in the first place. But that's all hearsay. We'll have to wait and see on that conclusion there next season, the year after that, the year after that, the year after that, because it's a 4-year deal for Hendrickson. But not bad for the Ravens. I think it's not bad for the Raiders either. It's all messy, and that's all it really was.
Yeah, and everything we've heard from Maxx Crosby is like, I know we don't put a lot of stock into him. Players like, oh, I want to be a whatever the team is for life, but it seems like he really does want to be a Raider for life. And I think as long as he's been in the NFL, he kind of understands the business side of it, of the Raiders trying to get the 2 first-round picks for him. So I don't think it's going to be a nasty split if there's a split in the future.
I think the worst part about this trade is that poor fella on Twitter that said he'd shave his head if the Baltimore Ravens traded for Maxx Crosby, completely down to the scalp, go full bald. And yeah, I mean, obviously they make the trade, and a couple days later, right? He's like, all right, time to pay the piper. Shaves his head, tweets out the picture.
Just waited a week.
Yeah, he could have just waited till the 3-day tampering period was over, basically. He almost made it. Like, he almost made it all the way to Tuesday at midnight or whatever when it ends, and like then it would have been official. But he waited till like what 4 p.m. probably, and then the trade an hour later, maybe 35 minutes later, is officially rescinded. And that poor guy, his bald head was everywhere. I couldn't believe it. I feel bad for that guy. But he followed up on his promise. However, he got screwed at the end of the day. And I think the Ravens should repay him by giving him season tickets for like 5 years. Like that's the price that the Ravens should have to pay for rescinding that trade. Is that poor guy that is now bald, that was not bald before. He needs to have at least season tickets for 5 years on the house.
That's a fan that's willing to sacrifice for his team. Ravens ticket sales, please give this guy some season tickets, man. Please do it.
I mean, for the length of the Hendrickson contract, he got to go. That's a it's a 2-person deal now. You gotta give that guy season tickets, because look, I love my Miami Dolphins. I'm not shaving my head for them. I'm just not doing it. My hair's I'm happy with my hair. I don't have any problems with it. I'm not gonna just take it away. Like, I'm not doing that for my team. So that guy, he'll do anything for your team. You need to reward that fan. That fan of the year, when that whole competition goes down, Baltimore, if that's not your representative,
that's the guy that has to go to the Super Bowl, right?
Yeah, has to. And if they don't send him that way, that's a complete fuck up by the Ravens and the NFL. Unreal. That poor guy. We had another trade that happened today. Surprisingly, we got a trade that happened today. Justin Fields, welcome to Kansas City? Question mark? I
Justin
guess.
Fields, another guy that I put a lot of stock into last year. Game one, he was good, and then
Sure.
after that, it kind of dropped off. After that, kind of dropped off. Um, I like this deal for the Chiefs. I'm not out here saying that Patrick Mahomes isn't gonna, suit up game one of the season because of the knee,
Mm-hmm.
but I feel like Justin Fields is going to get all the reps and OTAs, training camp, and all that stuff for the Chiefs. Um, Getting coached by Andy Reid cannot hurt your career; it can only help. So, like, for a player that's kind of been tossed around by the NFL teams like a hot potato so far in his career, like, I think this is a good landing spot for him, even though like he's not going to be a starter. You never know what can happen with injuries and all that stuff. So we don't know if he's going to get opportunity to start in 2026, but I think it's something that can only help his career.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. Like he was sick at Ohio State, great player, and then he comes out and then he goes to Chicago and he just doesn't develop because Chicago doesn't develop quarterbacks until literally this year. Shout out to Ben Johnson with Caleb Williams. It hasn't happened before, and each one kind of flames out, and then he just kind of go to the Jets, and that was bad. Going to the Jets is another graveyard place. So now going to the Chiefs, like where Patrick Mahomes comes in, he's obviously a top 12 pick overall, 10th or 11th or 12th pick, whatever it was in the draft. So obviously highly touted by the Chiefs, and I don't know if anyone had him really going that high necessarily in 2017, but Andy Reid lets him sit for a year. He completely develops under that system, comes out the next year, and they're just fucking unreal, and they go on this run, obviously, that we've seen. So like Justin Fields being able to take the first team reps in the offseason, probably good for his career. And then being able to sit behind Patrick Mahomes for a season, albeit like the Chiefs haven't been good this past year. The offense was kind of stifling the last 2 years, like not that good, but you still get Andy Reid and you still have Patrick Mahomes next to you. Like there is no osmosis, but if he takes it seriously, there are ways to develop and get a lot better and go get another deal and get another opportunity with another team. So overall, I think it's the best for Justin Fields and for KC. Like if Patrick Mahomes gets hurt again, at least like you're not throwing Gardner Minshew. Shout out to Gardner Minshew, Brandon, Mississippi's own, but like you're not throwing him out there as your backup quarterback and then watching him tear his ACL like right after that. That was crazy.
Yeah, and like if I'm Justin Fields and I'm looking for a player comp to kind of give me motivation, in the spot that he's in right now, just look to Malik Willis last year. He came in when Jordan Love got hurt, played well. Now he's a starting quarterback from Miami, and he's getting paid a lot of money. So I I'm not going to put an end to Justin Fields' career just yet.
No, I think this only makes it better because he's not with the Jets or the
Yeah,
Bears at that time. Like he went to two of like the worst organizations to develop a quarterback to, and now he's at a place where they've developed at least two quarterbacks really fucking well. Alex Smith like was fine, right? And he goes to Kansas City, has all of his best career years, right? And then you get Patrick Mahomes there. Obviously, that's worked out for him. So, like, yeah, not a bad situation for Justin Fields. And I think as KC, like, that's kind of a little insurance. Maybe it looks like the Malik Willis thing in Green Bay. Like, he picks up on the system, he plays really well, conservative, it boosts his stock, and all of a sudden he can go sign another deal. Yeah, I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all.
yeah. Maybe it'll be another year of me putting stock into Justin Fields again. I guess I don't know. We'll see. We'll see how it goes for me.
Yeah, we shall see. Last thing before we go, a little bit of a shorter episode today. Kush, you were very passionate on this topic. Obviously, Houston Texans fans are very passionate about this topic. The Tennessee toilet bowls, the Oilers, the Titans, the Toilers. Yeah, they released some new jerseys. They're
They
not
did.
very new necessarily. They tweaked the logo a little bit, but they're modernized versions of the Houston Oilers jerseys, which like probably should have just kept them the whole fucking time. You know, like if you change the name, you just keep the color scheme, and then we just wouldn't have had as much animosity towards this team. I think all of your animosity would be towards what's his nuts, Bud Adams. Is that the owner that moved him to Tennessee? Like, I think everything is now targeted towards him as opposed to the team. If he just kept it the whole time, and we didn't switch over to the Titans, we didn't switch over to these new uniforms with the navy and the baby blue. Like, if we just stayed baby blue and red, I don't think we have as many issues. However, Kush, they look pretty good. They look pretty solid. Jeffrey Simmons looks pretty sick in those puppies. I'm not gonna lie. They look great. However, I understand why you're upset. So I did not listen to your 5-minute rant purposely because you do have a 5-minute video out there on your social medias. I think it's a Apollo HOU Kush is or Apollo Kush HOU. That's what it is, right? You can go find it there, the full 5-minute rant. But we're probably about to get another like 5-minute rant here.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to give you the floor so I could hear it straight from your mouth as we were having a conversation about it.
So if you guys want to listen to the original 5-minute rant in my car that I did that morning, the TikTok is Apollo Kush HOU. I'll be posting like text and stuff, and football stuff and sports stuff and all that
Yeah.
stuff. You guys want to go follow that. But yeah, pretty much the gist of it. Like, I want to be very honest with you. I think the uniforms look pretty cool. I've always thought the Oilers uniforms look pretty cool. For me, it's never been about the uniforms, and I'll say like I didn't grow up an Oilers fan, so I'll go out there and say that uniform gate. I guess we're calling it uniform gate.
Yeah.
The Tennessee Oilers uniforms. I don't think I was as passionate about it as the older crowd in Houston that actually grew up watching the Oilers, and that team like meant a lot to them. They had an emotional connection with that team, with the city, all that stuff. And unfortunately, the technicality of it is technically that that uniform now does belong to the Tennessee Titans organization. It sucks. We hate the Adams family here in Houston for taking football away from Houston. Eventually, we got the Texans, and it's all good. But my point, one of my points in that 5-minute rant video that I did was kind of, if I'm a Titans fan, why would I want to like claim the Oilers' history? Because the Oilers really they were a fun product to watch for Houstonians, represented the city, the culture, all that stuff. But when it came to like actual significant winning, they never got past the Steelers in the AFC Championship. Got there twice, lost both times.
It's like
They
where
never got to
Heartbreak
the
Houston
Super Bowl.
started, right?
Heartbreak Houston, the Oilers and the Bills. All I gotta say is those two words, and every Houstonian knows what I'm talking about. 35-3 comeback or whatever it was. The year one after the Tennessee rebranded to the Titans in '99, they got further than the Oilers ever got in their entire history. So it's not me hating. It's just Tennessee Titan fans have to help me understand, like, why do y'all want that history so bad? I mean, when you guys were the Titans, you guys had success.
Yeah, it is strange. So I'm a fan of a team that moved from a city that was an original organization that now has a new organization. So same as the Texans are to the Titans, the Minnesota Wild are to the Dallas Stars, right? So the Dallas Stars, they move in 1993 down to Dallas from Minnesota. They drop the North out of their name, and they're just the Dallas Stars. So they're no longer the Minnesota North Stars. They're just the Dallas Stars. When you look at the name, like it fits in as the North Stars here in Minnesota, like that fits perfectly for Minnesota, right? When you drop it and you just go Dallas Stars, that fits perfectly, right? Texas Stars, the Stars at night. Yeah, it all works. So like, I'm not mad about that. I don't think you can pull the Oilers over to Tennessee because it's just not part of the brand in Nashville, like oil drilling and all that kind of stuff. So I understand why they dropped it and they went Titans. However, I'm in the camp of wanting to completely drop the rest of the Dallas Stars franchise history. Like, we have retired numbers up there for guys that played for the Minnesota North Stars. Like, two of the numbers are 7 and 8. Like, those are sick hockey numbers that some guys that could wear, that if they came in, like, there's this guy on Brady Tkachuk. If you watch the USA Olympics, love Brady Tkachuk. I've been wanting him for years. He wears number 7. I was like, if we could ever trade for him, like, what number does he wear? Because that one's up there, and it's not a Dallas Star, it's a North Star. Played years before the North Star showed up. Like right now, Wyatt Johnson's about to break a franchise record for the North Stars / the Dallas Stars in power play goals in a season. But all of those records were set by the North Stars. I was like, this team has enough history now and has done so well. You have a cup in '99. You've been to the Cup final in 2020. You've went to the Western Conference Finals 3 straight years in a row. Like, you don't necessarily need that history behind you. So if the Oilers move to Tennessee and the Titans, they still had the baby blue early on too. Like it was part of their uniform scheme and everything. Like I thought that was a great early 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s, great scheme and everything. The Eddie George baby blue jersey and everything. Had one of those when I was a kid because I grew up close to Nashville. If we had just modernized that version of like the early 2000s baby blue with the dark blue and everything, I think that's the route we should have gone, as opposed to just going full on throwback to the Warren Moon Oilers, which I know Warren Moon's a part of the organization now and all this kind of stuff, but like it's just like we should have modernized the version that was your best version, right? With Steve McNair, Eddie George, Javon Curse, like what's his name, Bullock, and the linebacker core. Like you had it going early 2000s. Modernize that version as opposed to taking the Oilers one. I think that's where I stand now. But the Oilers stuff looks good.
Yeah, and we've talked about a lot of talking points about this thing, but I think it goes even deeper than that, in my opinion. Like the timing of this is interesting because they could have done this years ago, right? And they did kind of rebrand the uniforms, several years ago.
Yeah.
My personal favorite was, the ones they rebranded to in like I believe it was 2017 or 2018 with like the sword on the shoulder pad. I thought that was really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my personal favorite Titans uniforms.
The sword logo was always so good too. They had that early 2000s.
It was really cool.
Like that one was so good when I was growing up. Like loved that one. I don't know why we ever got rid of it.
Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, what this goes to is, the Texans wanted to use a variation of the Oiler blue, called the H-Town blue now, as we know.
Yeah.
The Houston Cougars down here in town used that color for a little bit. They got, I think they got a C&D from the Titans owner.
Yeah, they did because they did, and the Rockets have gone baby blue, but they don't use the same baby blue, so they avoided the C&D.
And I think what it all comes down to is, Amy Adams Strunk, the Titans owner, she's very petty. She doesn't like the city of Houston. There's bad blood there between both of them, and even Hannah McNair and Adams Strunk have beefed in the past. They talk shit about each other's organizations, all that stuff. So this thing, the blood runs deep between these two franchises. And at the end of the day, I think that's what it was all about because, like I said, the timing of it, like you could have done this anytime. You chose to do it a couple years after Houston wanted to use the color, and there was a big hoopla about all that. So, that's where we're at. But, saying all that, I'm glad it's worked out the way it has because it just adds more to this rivalry, man.
Yeah, it's good for the rivalry, but also I think it's kind of good for the Texans in a weird way. It's like then you're not tied to the Oilers, so you can make your own history. And I know it's been 20-something years since you became an organization and franchise and everything, but now you get to make your own history, and you don't have to worry about the past. You don't have to worry about the Warren Moons, all that, the Heartbreak Houston stuff. Like you can kind of technically separate yourself from that if you start winning like big games and stuff, which we're close, right? We were a quarterback away from going to the AFC Championship game, unfortunately, and that's kind of where you lie. So like you can kind of detach yourself and you don't have to worry about it, but the fans are never going to do that. So that's why it will always be a rivalry. That's why it'll always be contentious. And especially if the owners are at each other's throats about the exact same thing and about the city hates and the franchise hate and all that kind of stuff. It's not going away until they die. And then a lot of these like old Oilers fans that are now Texans fans die off. Like it's going to be a decades long run of hate that we can't get rid of. It's going to be so many decades that we're never going to get rid of. And it's probably going to get passed down to the generation to generation. So like we're going to be here in 200 years and like the Titans and the Texans still fucking hate each other. And that's okay. That's perfectly fine. I'm fine with that rivalry being a thing.
I'm here for it.
With expansion news in the NBA looming, where they're about to vote on it, Seattle and Las Vegas, if you were to add an expansion team to the NFL, where would you add it to?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that one came out of left field. I just now thought of it.
I'll say this. Going to the NBA, Victor Wembanyama and what he can potentially do for the city of San Antonio, like if 5-10 years down the road, if the NFL were to approach San Antonio for an NFL team, I think that would make sense. Obviously, because I think a player like Wembanyama has, I think he's already like grown the city of San Antonio by himself. So like, I think that would be interesting. I mean, we used to talk about this with Jacksonville. It seems like every year.
Yeah, going to England. Yeah, I think San Antonio is probably the correct answer. It's the biggest city that doesn't have multiple major sports, right? It's just the NBA down there. So adding an NFL team to another Texas city is probably not a bad idea. I just had another one. Oklahoma City, I think would be my vote with how good their fan base is for basketball. That is a football state at the end of the day. They love their football just like Texans do. I think that's the other that I would go towards.
Okay, season interesting. Yeah.
And then I know Dallas would probably not want to do this because they have the rivalries with their NFC East folk, but you could go kind of a Texan Oklahoma City division. If you just added San Antonio and OKC, you can just have those four. That's your division. Texans,
cool.
Dallas, San Antonio, and OKC. And that'd be a pretty solid one. I think
I mean, you know, aside from OKC and San Antonio, sign me up for a Cowboys Texans matchup 2 times a year, every single year, right?
I wish that was like, you know how in the SEC where Florida plays Florida State every year, South Carolina plays Clemson every year, they're SEC, ACC rivals, but that's their longstanding in-state rivalry and everything. I wish the NFL would do that with some teams, like the teams that have at least two teams in the state, like the Texans, the Cowboys. They have to play each other every year. So you have your division matchups and you have the Cowboy matchup every year, and then you rotate everybody else out.
And then how in college football they've got rivalry week.
Yeah, you have rivalry week
and like the end of the year. Yeah, that'd be cool.
The Chargers and Rams play against each other because they're in the same building technically, right? And they just alternate who's the home team and who gets their home locker room, whatever.
You can do the Giants and the Jets. Everybody loves to watch the Giants and the Jets.
You can rotate the Florida team since there's 3. You could rotate the California team since there's a bunch. Like, I think that would be kind of fun where there's just there's a built-in rival, like Arizona versus somebody. I don't know, because they used to be the Chicago Cardinals, right? And they used to be the St. Louis Cardinals. You can kind of tweak them in with the Bears.
We might have to have a Bears and Colts because now
they're going to both be playing in the same state. Bears, so. That's crazy that they're going to play in Indiana. Yeah, I think rivalry week where you're not playing a division rival would be fun. Because there are rivalries that the NFL could have. They just have chosen not to put it together that way. I don't know. It's just food for thought, expansion talk.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Houston's about to get a hockey team. So, like, the Stars are about to have a rival in a couple of years, 2 or 3 years. So, built-in in-state rival, which is cool because we don't have any of that. We're rivals with people that are several states
far away.
Yeah. Colorado, Vegas, St. Louis, Nashville. Like, those are kind of the Chicago. Those are the rivals for the Dallas Stars, and they're nowhere near. Edmonton is the next one, and they're in fucking Canada. So, like, be cool to have an in-state rival for in-season games or regular season games.
Yeah.
I don't know. All right. Well, we stretched that podcast out a lot further than I thought. That'll do it for Play Action Takes, Ball Media's NFL podcast. Make sure to follow us on social media at Play Action Takes or on YouTube at Play Action Takes and audio platforms like Apple, Spotify, wherever else you get podcasts. We're there at Play Action Takes. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. Make sure to follow us on social media. You can catch up on all of your NFL football stuff in the offseason. The draft is upcoming, so I plan to do a little bit of draft research over the next 2 weeks. So maybe 2 weeks from now, we do a little draft preview kind of stuff, maybe a mock draft again where we kind of look at it. And then the draft will be here before we know it. But that'll do it for Play Action Takes, the Ball Media's NFL podcast. We'll be back very, very soon with another episode.